Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Chakras and Cusswords podcast. My name is Catherine, and I am your host. Today's episode, we are going to talk about Justin Bieber and his birth chart. We're also going to do a little bit of a dive into some of the history of Justin Bieber and some of the reasons why we are reading his birth chart. So first of all, I want to say that all of this birth chart reading is based off of areas of energy, of possible speculation, and maybe centered around a little bit of some recent allegations by the public. And we will talk about these controversies that have been surrounding Justin Bieber. So, Justin Bieber is a Canadian singer and songwriter. He's really seen as a pop icon who rose to fame in the late 200s. He was born on March 1st in 1994 in London, Ontario, Canada. Bieber has gained lots of attention through his areas of music. He's basically considered a influential pop singer. One of the ways that Justin Bieber rose to fame was creating YouTube videos covering various songs, kind of like doing cover band tributes, which eventually caught the eye of talent manager Scooter Braun. And for those who don't know, there's been tons of controversy about Mr. Scooter Braun that basically even goes back with Taylor Swift. They believe that, he was the one who sold and stole all of her musical records and rights. And that was the person that Taylor Swift was trying to break away from in her areas of management and record publications. Justin got a record deal with Island Records, and then Justin debuted an EP, My World, that was released in 2009, and it was quickly followed by his debut studio album, My World 2.0, in 2010, which included his hit songs that are very popular, like Baby, Baby, and Somebody to Love. These songs basically shot him to international stardom, especially with the teens, right? The girls, the tweens. He was super cute. Oh my gosh, Justin Bieber was such a cute kid. And Justin Bieber basically stole the heart of many tweens and girls. And basically, we loved him. We loved Justin Bieber. Throughout his career, Bieber has released several successful albums, including Believe in 2012, Purpose in 2015, and Changes in 2020. He's known for, being, I guess you could say, a little sparky, having those pop tunes and those smooth vocals. For basically, he's been evolving over time. His sound has definitely evolved over time. In addition to his music career, Justin Bieber has actually made headlines for multiple reasons: relationships, public controversies, his talent, his style. Justin has definitely been undeniable in pop culture, and he's definitely been seen as an influential figure in the music industry. There has been a lot of speculation about how Justin Bieber kind of grew up, since he was at a very young age when he was basically in the area of fame, that there has been typically a lot of people concerned about people taking advantage of him when he was younger. So Justin Bieber's home life had, I guess you could say, different types of experiences. From what I've gained, it's had both energetic elements of being at ultimate highs, of being successful, and then also being at kind of like a lot of lows. He was born to Patricia Patty Mallet, who was only 18 years old at the time of Justin's birth. And him and his parents have never gotten married. It doesn't really even sound like they had that much of a relationship during the time of his birth. His biological father, Jeremy Bieber, was not basically heavily involved in the upbringing during his early years. So Justin was raised primarily by his mother in Canada. And it sounds like they had a lot of financial struggles. She was a single mom. His mother worked multiple low paying jobs to support them. And they were basically living off of her income. And also, they were receiving resources from living in a low income house, from what I have gathered. Despite this upbringing, which could have its challenges, but we also have to remember that sometimes these early childhood challenges helps us to develop in becoming a successful adult. Despite these challenges, Bieber's mother always encouraged him to have musical talents from a very young age, recognizing his potential. So it was quite certain that Justin was very talented, and his mom saw this in him, and she continued to push him to pursue his dream. Like most star kids, it's always the parent who is the first one to notice and has that idea, like, do we continue this, or do we say no? But Bieber's mom said, no, my kid is talented and we're going to push and get him out there. Bieber's passion for music basically was self-taught. So his mom didn't have money to sign him up in schools or music lessons. He was able to teach himself various instruments. So when I look at Justin Bieber, talent-wise, I'll be honest, there are some aspects that remind me of Prince by the fact that he's able to play multiple instruments, and he's very eccentric, and he keeps a lot of people guessing. I would say, I wouldn't say he is on that state of icon, but there are some similarities that I see with him and Prince. And I'm a huge Prince fan. For those who know me, Prince is like one of my faves. Bieber's passions for music led him to teach himself to play the guitar, the drums, and the piano. He also started basically entering into like talent shows and competitions, and he started working on his YouTube channel, and eventually he was signed to that record label by Scooter Braun. So in the beginning, he was touring the world. He was achieving immense success, and he experienced the high pressures of celebrity life we have to remember, at a very young age. He was a young kid. He wasn't like a teen. He wasn't like 17. He was a kid. However, Justin Bieber's rise to stardom wasn't without a lot of difficulties, and a lot of these difficulties played out in the public eye, and he has spoken about them pretty openly, about struggles with mental issues, substance abuse, and I believe there was also talks that he had Lyme disease, and this was seen as him trying to navigate through fame and the spotlight. Over the years, he's basically credited his family, including his mother, for really providing support and guidance during these turbulent times in childhood. And despite the ups and downs, Bieber has maintained a close relationship with his mother and has expressed tons of gratitude for her support to getting to him to where he is in his life and in his career. Justin Bieber has had lots of media attention over his relationships. And one of his most high-profile relationships was Selena Gomez, and she is a singer. I believe she's an actress too. And she was right around about the same age as Justin, and they were both like these two cute pop little icons. And many people believe that Selena Gomez was like the love of his life, his first love. They definitely had an on again, off again relationship. Selena Gomez and Justin Bieber's relationship basically was very high profile in the late 200s, and they had a breakup in 2010. The pair first began dating in the late 2010s, but experienced several breakups and reconciliations over these years. So they were off again. They definitely were the celebrity 2000s couple. And it seemed like they called it quits for good in 2018. There's been a lot of speculation that Justin's relationship with Selena Gomez was sabotage by the Kardashians, because, the Kardashians weren't really friends with Selena Gomez. And for those who don't know, they have girl beef, I guess. But anyways. And then he began his relationship with Hailey Bieber, who is also a Baldwin. So I can't remember exactly how she's a Baldwin. I know one of her dads is a Baldwin. I don't know which one. Justin Bieber's relationship with Hailey Bieber at the time was Hailey Baldwin, has basically been more stable than what people would say his relationship with Selena Gomez was. The couple basically first met in 2015, and that was right before going their separate ways. However, they rekindled their flame in 2018 and got engaged the same year. They ended up getting married in a courthouse ceremony in September 2018. And then later, they had a larger wedding celebration. So those are basically his most publicized relationships. And during this time of him growing up and becoming the man he is today, Justin Bieber has definitely had some areas of controversy. So there's been a lot of legal issues. Bieber had multiple run-ins with the law. Around 2014, he was arrested in Miami Beach for a DUI, resisting arrest without violence, but driving with expired license. He also faced charges of vandalism in 2014. He was egging his neighbor's house in Calabasas. Additionally, he has been involved in lots of legal disputes, including assault allegations and reckless driving. The reckless behavior has kind of been something that people see with Justin Bieber. I would say pretty frequently, especially during this year of 2014. He has been involved in incidents with the paparazzi, altercations, and also behind the wheel. So he's has definitely received a lot of backlash from his fans and also from media and the public. He also had a racial controversy back in 2014. There was a video that kind of popped up that Justin Bieber was basically had racially offensive language, and they said that he was making racially insensitive jokes. He apologized for his behavior, acknowledged it, and said that he made a mistake and he was expressing remorse. There's also been some controversy about him and his pets. Bieber faced criticism for the way he treated one of his pets. In 2013, he faced a lot of backlash for giving away his pet monkey, Molly, in Germany without obtaining the necessary paperwork. He's also been criticized for allegedly abandoning pets and for controversial comments about animal welfare. And I'm a huge pet lover, so that's to me a huge ding. Relationship drama has been pretty consistent with Justin Bieber. It's been, kind of all the time, especially with the relationships with Haley and Selena Gomez, there's always been a lot of controversy and drama, not only with the two women, but somehow Justin Bieber has always kind of got included with this. So let's get into his areas of controversies that aren't really making too much public media attention. So, some of the controversies that have been really deep and kind of entering the areas of speculation has been Justin Bieber's relationship as being a young child celebrity and being involved to abuse. One of the reasons why is because people feel that he spoke out numerous times about how he was exposed to a lot of things. We don't know if this is abuse or just people making him feel very uncomfortable. But with the height of all the recent controversy, especially with the Quiet on the Set documentary, areas of people exposing Disney, there is a huge population, and some would say conspiracies, some would say speculation, but there's definitely some concern that something has happened to Justin Bieber besides just growing up in the spotlight and being exposed to things that were way too advanced for his age. This also comes with a lot of the allegations that have been surrounding Sean Combs. So, Sean Combs, P. Diddy, Puffy, has a bunch of lawsuits. He settled with his ex, Cassie Ventura, in the heat of 24 hours. That lawsuit basically was settled, but then also he has another recent allegations, and his homes were raided and all that. So a lot of people remember that P. Diddy was around Justin Bieber a lot as a kid, and also that connection with Scooter Braun is making people uneasy. There's also been rumors that somehow Usher is involved, but I'm not really going to get too much into the rumors, but just that something has happened to Justin Bieber where he just is basically having to protect his mental health, and he's also acknowledged that in the recent years he has been more focused on personal growth and spirituality and basically trying to make positive changes. We also know he's battled with substance abuse. So I am going to read his birth chart and kind of give you an area of a generalized reading. Will I be saying if he's definitely has a lot of childhood wounds? I don't think I need to read his birth chart to tell you that, but he has definitely had a lot of struggles, especially areas of finances. Growing up with a single mom, I definitely believe there was some instability during the early years, and being pushed or centered in the area of fame, especially the demands of his music career, has probably definitely led him to have a deprived childhood and not necessarily the typical childhood experience that many of us would have experienced. So it could be very overwhelming for anyone. I couldn't imagine being in the spotlight like that and growing up, and then also growing up without a father. So these are kind of things that we already know about Justin Bieber, but when we look into his birth chart, we're going to kind of see how some of these things are all tied in together. I just want to play you a couple clips of some of the interactions that Justin Bieber has had with other celebrities, other adult celebrities, and how uneasy a lot of this controversy is, especially when you see how he was treated as an adult, and some of the sexualization that really played out in Hollywood, and especially with other celebrities like Kim Kardashian, Puffy, and how this has all implemented him to really act some in the ways that he does act. And I hope this will give a better understanding during the full chart reading.
Answer Justin Bieber.
I have like little girl fans. I can't.
Imagine there was no laws. Imagine it wasn't like weird like that. Justin Bieber. I'm gonna squeeze your face.
No.
I will. No.
I mean,
If you had to date one of us 5,
who it is? Wow. I feel violated right now. Wow.
How have you been enjoying the night so far?
Great. I just got to neck Justin Bieber and grab his butt.
I saw that you like
Dramatic call to 911 by Justin Bieber. The pop star had been speeding down a California freeway going up to 100 miles an hour. The paparazzi chasing him. Here's ABC's Cecilia Vega with his story.
911 emergency, what are you reporting? Hello, I have like 5 cars following me.
It sounds like the scared voice of a teenager, hardly the voice of a mega pop star.
Do you know the people that are following you? No, I don't. They're driving really reckless. They just will not stop following me. And what's your name? Justin.
He doesn't even want to give his real name.
What's your last name? Johnson.
But ABC News has learned it was Justin Bieber, calling 911 Friday to report those paparazzi in hot pursuit. The recording obtained by a Los Angeles radio station and posted on TMZ.
They're being very dangerous, swerving around other cars, trying to get to me.
One witness says the Biebs hit speeds of up to 100 miles.
There was a time where I was sipping lean, I was popping pills, I was doing Molly, shrooms, everything, and it was just an escape.
She was involved in some shady business back when he was just a minor. If these rumors turn out to be true, Ellen could be looking at some serious prison time. On her show, Ellen DeGeneres once displayed a highly revealing paparazzi photo of Justin and proceeded to ask him some rather unusual questions about it.
There's a young woman in the background you can see in the bed.
Yeah, no.
Is that your girlfriend?
No, it's not.
Just a girl that you were in Bora Bora with?
Yeah.
You just brought a friend to Bora Bora?
Yeah.
And you're just naked with your friend?
Why are you putting me on the spot like this? Gosh.
I mean, you can say, why
As
can't you?
soon as you turn 16, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let you rock this every time you come in LA. Yeah, this gonna be yours. So every time you come in LA, it's a little dusty, but you know, come get the front shot of this.
Man.
Right that out. Minute.
Woo. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna be driving this next year.
Yeah, when you get 16, you come down there, you gotta, wear your seatbelt.
I mean, I'm 15. You could ride in the passenger seat. I got my permit. Not yet.
No.
All right, 16.
You're not ready.
16.
Let's slow down. Let's slow down, Josh.
Okay.
Let's slow down, okay?
One step at a time.
But yeah, the keys is yours when you get 16. You good to go.
I'm good to go.
Yeah.
All right, man.
And then when you get 18, you get the house. You get the mansion.
Okay. I get the mansion.
Yeah.
So where are we off to now?
Where would you like to go?
I mean, wherever you want to go. Where are we going?
So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. I have been given custody of him. He signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So and we gonna go full crazy.
We're going crazy.
Crazy.
I'm taking this out tonight.
What you want to do? What you want to do over the next 48 hours?
48 hours. Let's go. Let's just go get some girls. Let's go hang with some girls.
A man after my heart. That's what I'm talking about, kid.
I'm good. How are you?
Young brother, everything's good. Selling out arenas and everything. Starting to act different, huh?
You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But you never really got my number, so.
Right. Okay.
My number?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you my number.
Yeah.
It's 555.
Yes. Okay.
5555.
Okay. 55. You heard that?
And then we can also speculate what was some of the qualities and some of the areas of controversy that's playing out with him today. So let's get into it. Justin Bieber was born Tuesday, March 1st, 1994 at 12:56 a.m. in London, Ontario, Canada. He is a sun in Pisces at 10 degrees, and he has an ascendant in Scorpio at 29 degrees, and he is a moon in Libra in 24 degrees. It is also believed that most of his dominant planets are Pluto, Venus, and his sun sign. He also is really seen as having this energetic energy of a nice water and air mixed, and he is also very much a fixed energy. He has a birth, a life path of 9. He is believed to be a wood dog in Chinese astrology. So when I look at Justin Bieber's chart as a whole, some of the things that I see right away that really kind of tap in the first few things that I see when I look at his chart is he does have some energy around the third and the fourth house. It is interesting that right around the fourth house in that energy of Aries is his true Lilith. And for those who don't know, the fourth house, to me, I sometimes feel that there is a lot of energy around the fourth house, around that energy of the home. Also, we have to remember that is the feminine energy. I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't some areas where Justin may have felt that even though his mom's been extremely supportive, there's definitely been some energetic volume where that fourth house, that house that is traditionally ruled by Cancer, which is known as the feminine house, and that energy of the emotions and also the energy of traditions and privacy has been centered around areas of darkness, areas of insight where maybe at times Justin, wanted talent. He wanted to express his talents. He wanted fame. But there may have been times where Justin felt like his house was being robbed by, his home was being robbed by a energy that felt very dark and also felt like very controversial and felt a little bit too old for him. And it's also interesting is in his fourth house, he also has the energy of Pisces with Venus. And his Venus in Pisces has a trine with his Pluto and also with the area of his sun and his ascendant. So even though his seventh house is empty in the energy of relationships are very important to him. Another thing that also stands out is that he is probably attracted to women who are water signs or who are ruled by a lot of moon energy. Also, he may be centered around areas of Venus being tied into the energy of a lover, but not necessarily the wife. I haven't looked up his wife's chart. That would be an interesting thing to look up as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if he was centered around maybe an air element or somebody who is a Taurus or a Libra. I definitely see exhalation maybe with Pisces, where they could have a conjoined being and a strong relationship. I do not remember what Selena Gomez was. I believe she was a fire sign, but I'm not 100% sure. Also, something that's very interesting when I look at that Venus being in the 4th house, I think that he does create a lot of stability and a lot of areas of prioritization of the home life, and that energy of being with somebody who is dominant with Venus and also dominant with the energy of being intertwined. I definitely do now want to look up Hailey Bieber's chart, but I'm not going to just because of the time. Also, when I look at that center of the Venus in Pisces in the 4th house, I also feel like a lot of the area of the environment in the home life began with the mother root. And we see this, right? He was raised by a single mom, but there's also been some nostalgia that kind of comes up. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a strong resemblance between Hailey Bieber and his mom. Also, I feel that he's able to create a balance with the mom, but I do feel like with that dark Lilith also intertwined with the Venus, that I'm not really surprised that there was some areas where he felt very insecure in the home life, and also being raised with just the mom. And that's very sad in certain situations, especially with with all kids it matters, but especially as a young man looking for that role model of a male. Maybe somebody would have been able to protect him a little bit more with some of the controversies that he's been going through, and also with certain of the areas of speculation and allegations. When I also look at his energy of the 6th house, it is doesn't have any planetary alignment. His 8th house does have his vertex, which is in Cancer in the 8th house, and it's also considered to be the second descendant in some areas. People believe that. It's also considered to have an energy that would kind of tap into the willpower. So sometimes believed to have areas of something being very explosive and evilness kind of coming to permission so it's sometimes in the 8th house, it could feel a little bit violent. I would say if it had a conjunction to it, but luckily for Justin Bieber, he doesn't. So that is good for him. But for some people might not see the vertex in the 8th house as a positive. But like astrology is very based off of philosophy. Also, when I look at his chart and looking at the areas of insight, it's interesting that his fortune is in Aries in the 4th house. Also, that is a part of his ascendant plus his moon minus his sun. It's supposed to basically tap into the energy of being aligned with like misjudgments, also that energy of maybe being a little bit naive. And seeing it in the 4th house again with the feminine makes me think that maybe there was some energies that he possibly was put in certain situations that he was not ready for. And some of that could have to do with some of the mother wounds. When I look at his sun sign in the energy of his 3rd house, it makes a lot of sense that he is very, 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 I guess you could say, centered around communications. He is a singer. He is a songwriter. He's able to tap into that area of communication. That's really kind of like who he is. And we see that where it is with the sign of, when we look at his sun sign, it is in the sign of Pisces, but traditionally the sun sign is ruled by that 3rd house element of Gemini. And when we think about Geminis are very beautiful. They're very centered around musical thoughts and creation. We see kind of like those same traits. But for him to have it in the area of Pisces, it also represents that higher self energy, that energy of intellect, imagination, of creation, of purpose. So it's definitely a strong aspect about him, and also like the mystical depths. And I know one of his other songs, that Yummy song, there was a lot of controversy behind it because a lot of people believe that he was giving like hidden messages, that there was kind of like in this video that there was everybody eating and it just felt very like gross. And it also felt like there was a lot of speculation that this video could be going back to some of the energies of the elites and abuse with children. And, you know, the video, I did watch it, and I would say it didn't make sense until you think of it in that way. Is he allowing us to see a creative message that is very innovative? And it isn't basically saying like, hey, I was abused, but it's basically in some ways as an observer allowing you to take in clues and speculate, which to me seems like someone having a Pisces and a sun Pisces would do. What's also interesting is I feel like when we think about the areas of communication with this energy of the sun sign in the 3rd house, it's also aligned with Saturn in the 3rd house as well. And to me, that Saturn, that dominant area of boundaries and constrictions, and it's also in 3rd degrees. For a lot of people, the 3rd degree is a feminine degree. It is also a very ritual number. And when it is in the areas of thoughts and writings, we also have to remember that Saturn has a lot of boundaries and also restrictions. So I feel like he has a weakness when it comes to expression. And also he has a lot of energy that he should be cautious about, especially with the energy of breath and also his lungs. So it's something that he should look at as a whole. And what's also interesting is when we see Saturn sometimes in the third house, because it is very centered around the analytics, some people do believe that these individuals could have a tendency to have like a nervous disorder, which would make sense for his anxiety. And also if he is suffering from Lyme disease, but also he needs to have a lot of hope, and he also has to have a lot of positive energy to keep him going, especially it being surrounded in the energy of the Pisces, because the Pisces is kind of like that conscious state. So I do feel that sometimes his self-awareness is very intertwined, but sometimes it does get very restrictive, where maybe he is just living in a unconscious control and he's making very poor decisions. So I would say for somebody who has this energy that he needs to really take up spiritual practices in a ritual base, where he is using that energy of being masculine in his own spirituality and evolution. Hopefully he is able to really tap into that energy and the Saturn doesn't hold him down too much for his space of enlightenment. When I look at, and I know I'm kind of not really going into order, but when I look at his third house with Mercury in his third house as well, and this time it is aligned with Aquarius, which his Mercury happened to be in retrograde at the time of his birth. So Mercury feels, it feels good in Aquarius. It's exhalated in Aquarius. I also think that this represents him also being a little bit nervous. It also represents an area of intellect, and he's not really able to display exactly what he would like to display in certain areas, especially with the retrograde. And it being in 23 degrees, I feel that there's a lot of people who are really controlling what he says. I also feel that there's a lot of people who are making him and continue to make him stay very conscious and aware. Also, when we look at this Mercury in Aquarius, it could be a beautiful alignment. But also we have to remember that the Aquarius is kind of looking out for the collective when we think about it as a whole. So if this was like a Mercury in Leo, he might be a little bit more blunt, or Mercury in Aries, he might be a little bit more blunt. He might go ahead and just say what he wants. But for him, he's kind of taking a little bit of an approach that feels very practical. It also feels a little bit centered around, he's not really sure if he should speak out too much. He wants to speak out enough where people understand where he's coming from, but he doesn't want to speak out too much. I know there's a lot of controversy about, will Justin Bieber ever tell us exactly what he went through? Would he ever write a book? With the Mercury in Aquarius, I think he might get a little bit more expressive, but he's also going to be a little bit more hesitant too. And also with this Mercury in Aquarius, it's also squaring his Pluto. So there is a possibility that he might do a whole rebirth. His Mercury does conjunct his Mars, which is nice. Especially when I think about that energy of Mars being aligned with kind of having a spontaneous moment where he might really start to talk about some things a little bit more. When I look at Justin Bieber having this around the energy of Aquarius, we have to remember that right now he is having Pluto in there. So Pluto in the next 20 years might make him more vocal in some of the things that has happened to him. But his Mercury does conjunct his Saturn. So with Saturn being in Pisces, he might ease up a little bit, but that consciousness is not letting him. Also, I do think that if it does happen where Justin does tell us, or things are found in certain cases, he wouldn't necessarily deny it. So if something was found where Justin had to come forward with some things that have happened to him, I don't think he would deny it. I think he would speak about it. And I think he would do it in a way where we could understand where some of the turmoil came from as he was growing up. And also, I think Justin does have the potential of becoming an advocate for child stars if he could get away from the control. I do feel like there's people controlling him. So let's look at another one of his houses that I want to talk about. When we look at his 11th house in Libra, his 11th house, he has his moon. To me, this lets me know that there's this huge balance with him. The moon in Libra, the area of justification, also at 24 degrees. It feels like, because that is also the center around community, friends, and causes and organizations. So the emotional component to it, the area of justice, when we think about the energy of the Libra, of the social justice crusader, and then it also traditionally, that house being an Aquarius house, and we look at the degrees, I do think that there's a high possibility that Justin may have his emotions really come forward where he isn't able to hold back. And especially, we have to remember that right now the South Node is tied in to Libra, and that energy of the South Node, of the energy of coming back to the past, coming back to realization of the emotions of what has happened in certain collectives, in certain communities, might make it where he is the center of attention. And what's interesting about the 24 is the 24, I see it I see the number 24 definitely as that area of the higher conscious, as the 24 degrees is related to a Pisces degree. I also think that this would be a good time for Justin Bieber to really get centered in the area of becoming one with his higher thoughts and also his higher purpose. When I also look at his chart, I think it's kind of ironic that all this is happening to him as a Scorpio rising, and we have the Pluto in Aquarius, which is affecting the fixed signs. But since he is a Pisces sun, we do see a strong energy tied into the Saturn and Pisces, where a lot of the boundaries are really coming up for him, and a lot of the areas of expression might feel very constricted for him at this moment. I also think it's interesting when I look at that wounded healer energy, and I look at his Chiron. His Chiron is in Virgo, and it is actually in his 9th house. And traditionally, when we look at the 9th house, a lot of times that's in areas of exploring and areas of freedom and wisdom and wishing and creating more intentions around possibly the areas of movement, but also with the Sagittarius kind of being aligned with that 9th house placement. It makes me feel like there's that area of conquer that he needs to really take up and he really needs to move forward with. That could be on his own personal level where he never really shares anything with us, but that could just be him working through that energy of the wounded healer. What's interesting about the wounded healer and his Chiron being as Virgo is considered that 6th house placement, that 6th house degree. And even though his area of the 6th house is pretty empty, when we look at Chiron being in traditionally the energy of Virgo, which happens to be in his 9th house, it really kind of portrays that energy of the 9th and that energy of his life path. And one of my friends told me that they felt that the life path of 9 was centered around movement and healing and really coming through a lot of obstacles, and a lot of them have a lot of childhood wounds. And since his wounds probably started way before he actually entered the music industry, a lot of that childhood healing, I think, started with the area of the mother, and also started with areas of not having the father placement there. But we see that with the 5th degree, as the 5th degree is a very early degree, and some people would even say that's kind of a critical degree for Chiron to be in Virgo. And it does represent that area of the feminine. And also when we look at the area of the 5th degree, again, we have to remember that the area of the 5th degree also has to do with energies of Leo and that area of expression and creativity, and also children. I don't know if Justin Bieber is going to have children. I think it's something he definitely possibly thinks about, but I also feel like he's kind of like that person who doesn't want to bring a child into the world because of all the hurt that he went through. And he's trying to be more of a leader, but he might come around and actually decide to enjoy life and experience the pleasures of life. But I think right now that is very much a controversial topic for him and his wife. And I don't know if she's ready to have children either, or if they're more centered on a just day-by-day process. But I do feel that that energy feels very tied into something that he isn't very too sure about. I know a lot of people want to see him be a father. I've heard of this, that they want to see him be a father with Haley and kind of prove their love to all the Selena fans. But in all honesty, I feel that Justin has a lot of healing of his own inner child traumas. And before he can even let a child into this life space, he has to kind of work through his own issues, which can be very difficult for some people. Another thing that I want to point out when I look at the Virgo, the Chiron in Virgo, is it is very much centered in the area of health, because Virgo represents a lot of energy around the area of the daily routines, the health, the wellness, also the energy of improvement of lifestyle. I don't necessarily believe that the patterns that he is living, or the patterns that he possibly lived as he was getting to this age, are pretty healthy. I believe that he has to work on it. He has to actually work on creating a healthness and creating a life journey of where he's in a clearer space. When he's in a healthy space, it's kind of like a battle with him. I do think he is conscious. I do think that he is aware of the obstacles that he faces. And I do think that he is definitely a work in progress. When I look at the Chiron in Virgo, I do feel that a lot of the trauma did occur when he was younger, and it continued to occur to his adulthood, especially with his North Node, also in the 12th house, aligned with Scorpio. And that North Node is centered in the 12th, where the 12th we are supposed to be very conscious and we are supposed to be very aware, which lets me know that his areas of center of opposition would be the energy of the South Node being aligned with Taurus, and that Taurus energy, areas of wealth and past, of wealth and lessons and past, the dragon's tail kind of coming to a full space of alignment. And then we also have to remember we had this major energy shifting really with the fixed signs, and he has that Chiron aligned with not only the Scorpio, not only with the Virgo, which doesn't affect him too much, but the Scorpio affecting him as a fixed placement with the energy of the North Node, definitely making a full shift with the fixed signs with the Pluto and Aquarius energy for the next 20 years. I think, in all honesty, when I look at his chart as a whole, there's a part of me that has a little bit of worry around Justin. Kind of like a mama bear, kind of worry. Like, he is consciously aware, but he is definitely going through some battles. He is definitely fighting some energies that feel very abrupt and feel very centered around the area of disassociation. And sometimes when people disassociate too much, it is very much centered in a critical space. Also, the fact that his North Node is in 26, which is centered around wealth, as it is a Taurus degree, makes me feel that some of his finances are definitely being looked at. I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if his wife is there for love, because I feel like if it was up to Justin in comparisons to Haley, like, she likes the fame, she likes the business adventures, she likes that part, but I feel like he would kind of kick back from it. He would kind of take that area where he would step back from it. I do hope he has a personal transformation in the next 20 years. Maybe he really cleans up his act. Maybe he speaks more to the collective fully. Maybe he's able to create areas of relationships where the security of movement, of creating a deeper connection in more spiritual ways, and evolution really portrays in the next few to 20 years for him. I honestly think that Justin is very centered around a kindness, but he also has a lot of mismatched energies in the place of coming from so much trauma. It's really going to be interesting to see how this Diddy thing kind of plays out in the next year. A lot of people feel that the energy that Justin has with the public life, with the area of exposure, is going to come to light. And a lot of people feel that Justin is going to be the one to kind of expose some of these secrets. And it might be true when we look at his midheaven in Virgo at 15 degrees, also being tied into the 10th house. We have to remember that the 10th house is kind of about discipline, and it's also about the public image. And the midheaven really sometimes is centered around that area of the representation of the individual, and also the area of personality, also the area of elevation, of what is emphasized in the chart. It also at times can represent the mother, or perhaps maybe even a masculine figure or the opposite sex. So for Justin, that would be the mother. But if it is kind of centered around the masculine energy, since it is happening in the energy of the place where it's really kind of tied into that 10th house placement for him, it might feel very abrupt. I also am worried that there are times that Justin might start to kind of turn on some of the people who he is close with. And that's something that kind of is a little worrisome, is that I feel like he is also kind of like that person who might kind of go missing in some ways, that people try to keep him in like an organization type of mode. They try to keep him very centered around this is what you need to do, very rooted. But there is the kind of like that border area where he becomes obsessive, and he might start to obsess over things that aren't necessarily centered around the best possibility for his overall health. When we think about that, when I think of Justin in areas of his healing journey, one of the things that stands out to me is that Saturn has a strong opposition with Chiron, which I hope he is able to heal through this time. And I hope he is able to really tackle some of this. But the father wounds are deep, and the wounds with masculine energy is deep. And so is the wound with the feminine as well. So he does feel very, very alone. And he is having a hard time really trying to be functional. I know some people will say that he is battling addiction. He's battling a lot of not healthy coping skills. But I do think that a lot of this has to do with a large energy of trauma. Also, areas that he is very rebellious, and he'll continue to be very rebellious until he understands what he's really going through. And he actually feels that people are genuinely there to help him. If I was somebody who was part of Justin's inner team or had a relationship with him, I would know he would need to express himself as a creative. He would also need to express himself to the collective. And I hope they give him the freedom to do that, because that is something that he is yearning to do, especially as an individual who's recovering from areas of trauma. and areas of his healing journey and being somebody who is an artist. So I want to thank you guys for listening to the birth chart of Justin Bieber. And please let me know what celebrity birth chart would you like me to read next in the comments section. And everybody have an amazing day. Bye.